The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for Monday, January 9, 2023 is called to order. What? It's on. Mic is on.
Okay. Mayor Kaufman?
Here.
Councilmember Bergen?
Here.
Councilmember Coombs?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner?
Here.
Councilmember Drinsky?
Here.
Councilmember Lawson?
Here.
Councilmember Marcano? Councilmember Marcano?
Present. Did that work?
Yes. Councilmember Medina?
Here.
Councilmember Murillo?
Present.
Councilmember Sundberg?
Here.
And Councilmember Zvonek?
Present.
Moment of silence for the people of Ukraine. A land acknowledgement. The City of Aurora acknowledges that we gather on the territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Ute, Arapaho, and Lakota peoples, past and present. We also recognize the 48 contemporary tribal nations that are historically tied to the lands that make up the state of Colorado. Indigenous people have remained committed to the stewardship of this land over many centuries. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties that these nations have to their traditional homelands and to their vital place in the ecosystem are renewed and reaffirmed, and we are called to be better stewards of the land we inhabit as we continue to work to meet the needs of our entire community. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. Executive session update. Update on litigation matters were discussed. Approval of the minutes for December 19, 2022. A motion is in order.
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, seconded by?
Bergen.
Seconded by Councilmember Bergen to approve the minutes from December 19, 2022. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the approval of the minutes from December 19, 2022.
Mayor Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilmember Murillo?
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt the December 19th, 2022 meeting minutes.
A swearing-in ceremony of new associate judge and relief judges. Presiding Judge Sean Day.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Today's a special day. We're swearing in some of our judges that have been reappointed, in addition to 3 new judges for our bench. And so we asked a special favor of a friend of ours, a friend of the court, District Court Don Toussaint, to honor our court and our community in administering the oath to all of our judges tonight. So we're going to start with Judge Billy Stiggers, and then I'll pass the mic. And then after all of our judges that are reappointed, if you want to step to the side of the dais, and we'll stand in support of our 3 new judges who will be sworn in tonight as well. After they are sworn in, there'll be a special robing ceremony after their oath as well. So with that, if you're not being sworn in tonight, you're part of our bench. If you want to stand over here. Thank you. Judge Toussaint, thank you again.
Good evening, family. Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. On behalf of the 18th Judicial District and Arapahoe County District Court, it's my honor to administer this oath. Judge Billy Stiggers, if you can raise your right hand for me. I, Billy Stiggers, having been duly reappointed as municipal judge for the city of Aurora, Colorado, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially administer the affairs of such office in accordance with the constitutions of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the city of Aurora, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. Congratulations. Next, I am going to reappoint relief judges Judge James Anderson, Judge Jonathan Lucero, Judge Tricia McCarthy, Judge Mark Solomon, Judge Karen Steinhauser, and Judge Rebecca Watata. If you can come up, please. And if you can raise your right hand for me. I, please state your name. Having been duly reappointed as municipal judge for the city of Aurora, Colorado, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially administer the affairs of such office in accordance with the constitutions of the United States and the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the city of Aurora, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
For the next three judges, if there are family and friends that if you want to come forward so they're just close so that you can take pictures, feel free to come forward, okay? Thank you.
I am going to call Judge Shelby Files. Is it Files? Please call him. All right, Judge Files, if you could raise your right hand for me. I, Shelby Files, having been duly appointed as municipal judge for the city of Aurora, Colorado, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially administer the affairs of such office in accordance with the constitutions of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the city of Aurora, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
I invite family or friends to come up and Judge Files. If you want to get your robe. I had the honor of meeting Judge Files' mom tonight, so you want to come forward? And if you want to place the robe on your daughter. And of course it fits. Congratulations.
Judge Gina Hickman. I actually know Judge Hickman, so this is special for me. Gina Hickman, if you could raise your right hand for me. I, Gina Hickman, having been duly appointed as municipal judge for the city of Aurora, Colorado, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially administer the affairs of such office in accordance with the constitutions of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the city of Aurora, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
Take your time.
Judge Brian Whitney. Perfect. Judge Whitney, I, Brian Whitney, having been duly appointed as municipal judge for the city of Aurora, Colorado, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully and impartially administer the affairs of such office in accordance with the constitutions of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the ordinances of the city of Aurora, to the best of my judgment and ability. So help me God. Congratulations.
Judge Whitney's son, thank you. And of course, it fits as well. Congratulations. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you, and members of council, thank you very much for your time tonight. Thank you very much.
If the recipients of the MLK Junior Commemoration Planning Committee could come down here, the members. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., having been a prophetic voice and that reached out over the chasms of hostility, prejudice, ignorance, and fear to touch the conscience of America, challenged us to make real the promise of freedom, equality, opportunity, and brotherhood. And whereas Dr. King was a vital figure of the modern era which sparked the conscience of a generation through the movements and marches he led, and whereas an uncompromising champion of nonviolence, though often being the victim of said violence, Dr. King demonstrated unshakable faith and inspired others to resist the temptation to hate and fear. And whereas an instrument of change for all time, Dr. King helped make it possible for our nation to move closer to the ideals set forth in our Declaration of Independence, that all people are created equal. And whereas, with his life devoted to serving others by proclaiming a message of love that transcended borders, the strength of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s leadership was matched only by the power of his words, which still call us to perfect those sacred ideals enshrined in the United States of America's founding documents. Now, therefore, I, Michael Kaufman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim January 9th to 16th, 2023, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Week. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado, to be affixed this third day of January 2023. And I just want to thank the committee for all of your extraordinary work that's not done yet. We have so many events this week. I think we have more events than any other city in Colorado, and I'm very proud of that. We all should be very proud of that. But who is receiving this on behalf of your committee? Okay, there we go.
I want to thank everyone and all of our community for just coming out tonight for the opening ceremony. It was wonderful, but as he said, we do have a long week to go, and just hope to see you all back this week as well. Thank you, Mayor Kaufman, for always just being supportive of this holiday, and we appreciate you and City Council.
Thank you. Thank you. Holocaust Remembrance, Sarah Moses, Holocaust survivor, O.C. Sladek, Holocaust survivor, and his wife, Selma Sladek, Melanie Perlman, President and CEO of the Meisel Institute, Jordan Clark, Director of Outreach and Engagement of the Meisel Institute. Do y'all want to come down? Whereas from 1933 to 1945, 6 million Jews were murdered in the Nazi Holocaust as part of a systematic program of genocide, and whereas millions of other people were persecuted and perished as victims of Nazism based on political, ideological, and behavioral grounds because of their sexual orientation, disability, race, or religion, and whereas the people of the city of Aurora should always remember the atrocities committed by the Nazis, and whereas Aurorans should rededicate themselves to the principle of equal justice for all people, and whereas the people of Aurora should remain internally vigilant against all tyranny and recognize that hatred and bigotry provide a breeding ground for tyranny to flourish, and whereas it is appropriate for the residents of Aurora to join with the United States Holocaust Memorial Council in the commemoration Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim January 27, 2023 as Holocaust Remembrance Day in the City of Aurora, Colorado, in memory of the victims of the Holocaust and in the hope that we will strive always to overcome prejudice and inhumanity through education, vigilance, and resistance. In witness whereof, I hereby hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be affixed this 23rd day of January 2023.
Hello, I am a Holocaust survivor. I survived in the death camp, in the infamous death camp, Bergen-Belsen, where Anne Frank died. When Anne Frank died at 15 from typhus and starvation, I was 6 years old in the same place, infected with typhus, starving, and one of the very youngest children there to still be just barely alive. Today, I speak to inspire and motivate people to speak up, not to stay silent whenever they witness injustice. Imagine my dream of our world, where all different individuals, all different cultures, races, countries, all live by the very same standard, the same rule of behavior that they want for themselves. I believe that only then will we have real hope for our world free of genocide, wars, and violence, a world of loving compassion, respect for life, and a world of peace. I would like to finish with a quote by Edmund Burke. He said, "All that is necessary for the triumph, the success of evil, is for good people to stay silent and do nothing." Thank you.
Thank you. It's a wonderful moment in my life to be here, even though I've been here before a couple of times, but I appreciate being invited as the Holocaust, as one of the Holocaust survivors. 80 years ago, at this time, I was hiding in the mountains of Slovakia, the wonderful Tatra Mountains of Slovakia, because the Nazis that were down in the valley were looking for us. We were Jews, and they were trying to take us and put us into trains and ship us to concentration camps. I was 8 years old. I didn't understand really so much what was going on there. We hardly had any food. We had a lot of snow, cold, and a lot of fear of what happens tomorrow. I came to this city in 1960, and I loved looking at our mountains here. It looks so wonderful and familiar to me. I've been here for all these years. I've spoken to thousands of American people trying to tell them about how I escaped. Well, folks, Sarah unfortunately went to the camp. Fortunately, we were fugitives from the law. The law wanted to send us to concentration camps. My parents decided to become fugitives, and as such, with the help of a number of wonderful Christian peoples in my community, we were able to save ourselves and survive. So thank you so much for inviting me here tonight. And Your Honor, we have met before, and thank you so much. Would like to give you my book, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month proclamation. Recipients, Councilmember Angela Lawson, Investigator Robert Bob Friel, Deputy District Attorney Jacob Kremen, Witness Advocate Victim Misty Armijo. Please come forward. Whereas human trafficking, a serious global crime impacting communities everywhere, involves the exploitation of adults and children for the purposes of compelled labor or commercial sex work. In Colorado, it most often presents as sexual exploitation, forced labor, involuntary servitude, and debt bondage. And whereas human trafficking most often goes unreported due to several complex issues, including its covert nature, the lack of awareness about trafficking indicators, and methods of coercion and control employed by traffickers. And whereas fighting human trafficking must include educating the community on trafficking indicators and the resources, services available for victims of these criminal acts. And whereas by effectively encouraging the public to understand the signs of trafficking, pay attention to their surroundings, and report unusual situations to law enforcement, together we can help restore freedom and dignity to trafficking survivors, as well as help diminish the number of future victims. And whereas the City of Aurora and the Office of the District Attorney for the 18th Judicial District joined together to promote the annual observance of Human Trafficking Prevention Month, which demonstrates a joint commitment to prevention, prosecution, and increasing awareness to eradicate human trafficking. Now, therefore, I, Mike Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Aurora, Colorado, do hereby proclaim January 2023 as Human Trafficking Awareness and Prevention Month, and encourage all Aurorans to learn about and report the signs of this heinous crime in our community, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Aurora, Colorado to be affixed this second day of January 2023. Thank you all so much for all your efforts on behalf of this effort. Who's going to accept this? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Kaufman, City Council, and members of the community. We appreciate you inviting us here tonight. My name is Robert Friel, and I'm an investigator for the District Attorney's Office, and I'm part of the Human Trafficking team. I'm here along with my colleagues, Deputy District Attorney Jacob Kremen and Victim Witness Advocate Misty Armijo, and together we represent the anti-trafficking team. Prior to my role at the District Attorney's Office, I served for 23 years as an officer investigator with the City of Aurora. During that time, I knew about human trafficking, but I did not fully understand or appreciate its impact. The past 2 years have changed that. In 2021, I joined the District Attorney's Office anti-trafficking team. And since that time, I have learned that trafficking is a growing global problem that has real lasting effects on the health and well-being of our communities, on our families, and on our victim survivors. Human trafficking is a complicated issue and not easy to identify. This means that it often goes undetected. Many people do not understand what trafficking is and are unaware of where it takes place. We are trying to change that through efforts by our office to educate the community about how to identify potential trafficking situations, by providing resources and support for victims, and by aggressively prosecuting traffickers. This year for Human Trafficking Awareness Month, the District Attorney's Office has partnered with the Colorado Human Trafficking Council to provide local businesses and organizations throughout Colorado, such as coffee shops and truck stops, with materials that point to anti-trafficking resources and information such as how to identify a potential trafficking situation. To the community, I want to say, we need you. You are the eyes and ears of law enforcement. I encourage you to learn about the red flags for trafficking, and if you see a situation that causes concern, to make a call to the state trafficking hotline. I want to thank our partners and colleagues who, without them, we would not be successful. Partners like Sungate Kids Child Advocacy Center, located in Greenwood Village, Human Services for Arapahoe County and Douglas County, who work with youth, high-risk youth, who are at risk for trafficking or who have been trafficked. Therapists with Aurora Mental Health and elsewhere who provide critical counseling and support to victim survivors. Medical providers like Dr. Denise Abdu with Children's Hospital Colorado, and our law enforcement partners such as the FBI's Child Exploitation Human Trafficking Task Force and the Aurora Police Department's Internet Crimes Against Children's Unit. Not to mention the many victim advocates at the local, state, and federal levels who support our victims. Lastly, action expresses priorities. On behalf of the District Attorney's Office, I want to thank the Council for taking action to raise awareness about this hidden crime of trafficking and for your support of our team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Angela Lawson has been really front and center on this issue in the City Council in our city, and I'd like to give her a few words.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I brought this issue, an ordinance in 2018, because I had experienced at a place where I was getting at a hairdressing, it's a business park, they were doing trafficking right down the hall. I brought this to the attention. I want to thank my city council members at that time in 2018, which included Councilmember Murillo and also Councilmember Bergen, who were on the council at that time, for passing the ordinance. Since the ordinance passed on June 23rd, 2018, we have closed actually 21 illicit massage parlors that were doing human trafficking in the city of Aurora. Our ordinance has actually been a model for many municipalities like Denver, Wheat Ridge, Colorado Springs, and also it has been a model in Billings, Montana, who just passed an ordinance. I want to thank the city of Aurora. I want to thank Trevor Bond, who has been really instrumental, and all the stakeholders who assisted me in really getting this ordinance looked at, passed, and also Aurora Police Department as well, and the 18th Judicial for everything that you've done to continue to support this issue. I just want to tell the community, if you see something, you need to speak. You need to talk. You need to say something about this. There are victims out there, and you don't know how many people that you can help. Don't turn your back. If you see something and it doesn't look right, speak out. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Public invited to be heard.
The first person we have is Ellen Wu followed by Luke Sundberg.
Oh, it's on mine.
I am a constituent. I vote. I'm using my First Amendment rights to speak, to be heard, to be acknowledged. To those in this chamber, it does not matter if you are elected, hired, appointed. You are accountable to the people and not those that will further your own personal or political gain, your own selfishness and self-absorption. There are those that have failed to demonstrate the ability to govern. There are those that believe that erasing voices, erasing people, erasing communities, erasing history is acceptable. You are enablers of hate. There are those that believe that treating others without regard, respect, dignity, acknowledgement of one's heritage, culture, legacy is acceptable. I have met preschoolers and elementary-aged people that demonstrate more maturity, respect, and regard and dignity for others than some in this chamber. There are those in this chamber that are enablers of hate. Supporters of hate demonstrate hate. Empty apologies, canned words, mockery, taunting, bullying are not acceptable. Enablement and demonstrating hate is not acceptable. Repeated offensive behaviors are not acceptable. The words poor taste, in any way a racist, and the type of person is to intentionally upset. Never try to intentionally offend or harm anyone are words that discount and dismiss the issues. Mockery and denying COVID is not acceptable. If one thinks that it is humorous, speak directly with families, including young children and friends that have lost someone. Mockery regarding mental health is not acceptable. Defying stereotypes and preserving my heritage are not mutually exclusive. My legacy is with the Chinese Exclusion Act, 1882. It was signed 140 years ago. I have been the recipient of the taunts, the bullying, the stereotyping, the mockery, targeting myself, my family, my friends, my community. These include, but not limited to, the clasped hands, the assos, the shuffling feet, the slanted eyes, the words, "You all look alike," "You are here to take our jobs. I did not expect you to look like you do. You speak English so well." Since 2020, these have been amplified. These have been in public places. They have been by strangers. I've been coughed on several times, and the words, "This is all your fault. The mess that we are in is your fault. I hope you get sick. I can cough on you if I want to, bitch." Hate is learned environmentally. This is not limited to the stereotypes, lies, misinformation, the minimizing, the mockery, the enablement, the lack of respect and regard for others, not treating people with dignity. The enablers of hate have made public policies, decisions, and financial decisions that enable the hate, this systemic racism, oppression, suppression, colonization, inequities, and disparities not limited to housing, wages, water, and social injustice. This is public record. This is a call for the resignation of Sundberg, Mayor, Jurinsky, Zvonek, Bergen, Gardner, Lawson, effective immediately.
I was notified that Luke Sundberg is not here, so we're going to go to Victor Marquez, followed by Chantel Sundberg.
Did she mention me?
Hi, I want to try my best because I asked for a translator. Okay. At the coffee, we almost closed the restaurant. He came to me, he said, "What can we do?" So I gave him an idea, but he has the idea before. I don't think he do those things because he wants to dirán, ¿ok?
Mi nombre es Hilda, yo soy intérprete, ¿cómo está?
Gracias, bien, gracias.
Sí.
Entonces le explico a usted.
De ahí yo le repito.
Ok. Él vino hacia mí y tuvimos que cortar a una persona. Era el lavaplatos, no teníamos lavaplatos. Entonces él hizo esto. Yo le dije, para poder sobrevivir tenemos que traer gente.
He's continuing with his story. So we had to cut somebody from work. It was the dishwasher. And I told them, ¿qué le dijo? Perdón.
Tenemos que hacer algo para sobrevivir.
We have to do something so we can survive.
Él se le ocurrió esta idea a los dos. Ninguno de los dos lo hizo en la manera de perjudicar a nadie. Yo cuando lo conocí con la barba. Yo pensé que era un hombre malo, pero nada de eso. Es la mejor persona que yo he conocido.
When I first met him, I thought that he was a bad person. He had like a long beard and all that, but he's one of the best persons that I have known. And I just want to make sure, did you catch the first part of the story? Do you want him to repeat the first part of the story? Will that help? ¿Sabes qué? Vamos a empezar con la primera parte de la historia porque yo creo que no le entendieron.
Sí, okay. Lo primero que se nos ocurrió fue no cerrar el restaurante y mantener a los empleados que teníamos. A los dos se nos ocurrió esta idea de hacer comerciales para poder traer gente promoviendo el producto que nosotros vivíamos sin querer perjudicar a nadie.
So we didn't want to harm anybody. We decided that instead of closing the business, we were going to do marketing for our business. So that way we didn't need to fire anybody. ¿Usted está de su restaurante?
Yo soy el kitchen manager. Yo no quería correr a ninguno de los empleados ni cortarle sus horas. ¿Por qué? Porque al cortarle sus horas se iban a ir a buscar trabajo a otro lado.
¿Qué restaurante?
Legends of Aurora.
So I am the kitchen manager of Legends of Aurora. So I did not, I was trying to do my best, so we didn't have to fire anybody.
Y se nos ocurrió esa idea sin el propósito de perjudicar a nadie, al contrario de la pandemia que estábamos viviendo, de la enfermedad que estábamos viviendo, tratamos de hacer algo productivo para el restaurante.
So because the pandemic, we were trying to do something that was, because we were living the pandemic and all that, we were trying to do something that was good for the restaurant. So, ¿qué decisión tomaron?
La decisión que tomamos fue hacer los comerciales, eso que no esperaba, los dos no esperábamos perjudicar a nadie en lo absoluto.
So that's the reason, I'm sorry, I was trying to get to understand the story. So that's the reason that we decided to go with this marketing strategy to do these commercials, but we were not trying to harm anybody.
Yo soy hispano, tenemos la mayoría de cocineros somos hispanos, su esposa es afroamericana. Yo no veo en ningún momento por qué él lo tomaron como discriminación hacia él.
So I don't know why it was taken as a discrimination against him. Most of the people that work in the kitchen, we're Hispanic, we're Latinos, and his wife is African American. So I don't know why that will be taken in any negative way.
Yo estoy seguro que lo que hicimos los dos no fue para ofender a nadie.
I'm sure that what we didn't have any intention to offend anybody.
De mi parte y de la parte de él, yo sé que lo hicimos de la mejor manera. Si los ofendimos, yo sé que mi voz no tiene mucha fuerza, pero si los ofendimos, perdón, es lo único que yo puedo decir.
So from my side and his side, I just want to let you know that our intention was not to harm anybody. I know that probably my voice is not, is not very strong, but from my side, I wanted to let you know that I'm sorry, and it was not our intention to harm anybody.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Chantel Sundberg, followed by Bethany Blower.
Mayor, City Council members, and members of the public who are here and those at home, greetings. I'm here to address an issue about my husband, Steve Sundberg. There's a campaign of smear against him in the news. I met him in Africa when I was a refugee. I'm a survivor of Rwanda Holocaust when 100 million people died in 3 months. He was helping over there, building homes for Habitat for Humanity. That was 28 years ago. There are those in the media who have been trying to analyze who he is as a person. And I have a question for you. How do you know him? He's a man of integrity, a great leader who led a multicultural deacon ministry and the first one to integrate women in a church that was with all race and background, different of us. He's an awesome businessman with diverse staff. You just saw that. He's involved in our community and donates food whenever needed, sponsoring diverse youth group team. A great father with a great sense of humor who makes us laugh. He brings joy in our home. When it comes to people, he is colorblind. His love for people, desire for everyone to prosper. Hallelujah. A man with a God-given gift of voice talent. He's fun and makes us laugh. When it was dark during COVID, he brought laughter to many hearts. I wonder how many people with sad faces that got a smile because of those videos. I wonder how many people who were depressed and hopeless who found hope because of what they were watching. The public saw those videos and they loved them. For over 2.5 years, no one complained. I tell you what, if I would have a video camera, a big screen around here, and put on display everyone's lives, I bet I can find some special interest people, or I can find people who are going to be offended about something. Those videos, they were not intended to harm anyone or to offend anyone. To my beloved husband, keep up the good work. The Aurora is a great city. World 2 has lots of potential. Make it glorious. We all know this is all about politics, but I thank God that you are not a politician. You are not a man who give up, and this is not going to succeed against you. An attack against my husband, it is an attack against me. It is an attack against our family, and it is an attack against all members of the public. When they come against him, they're coming against you who elected him. But rest assured, we are not going to be intimidated by your scare tactic. We are not going to give up or be cancelled. We are going to prevail. And most importantly, we have the support of your public, and the Most High God is behind us. God bless you and thank you.
Bethany, followed by Zach Heaton.
Mayor, point of order.
Councilmember Coombs.
Only during ceremonies, I believe, are we supposed to have applause or other expressions of celebration?
That's correct. Please no demonstrations or applause. Please proceed.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. My name is Bethany Bloyer, and I registered to speak here tonight in support of Councilman Steve Sundberg. I've had the pleasure of getting to know the Sundberg family over the last few years because my husband also works for an Aurora small business. Over the last month or so, Steve has been the subject of some less than kind articles published by the Aurora Sentinel and the Denver Post. While I fully understand that some of Steve's actions could have come across as offensive to specific groups of people, I am here to implore you not to judge him, this wonderful man, on a few silly videos, but judge him on the fruits of his labor. These were jokes, amusement, something not to be taken so seriously. So let's take a minute and let's go back to the heart of the pandemic. Let's talk about the benefits of laughter, that it boosts immunity, that it lowers stress, that it attracts others to us to help diffuse conflict. So please, don't judge Steve on his attempted humor. I am asking you to judge Steve by his fantastic community impact that he has had in over 30 years that Legends has been open. Legends of Aurora has provided countless meals to local Pee-wee and high school sports teams. In March of 2020, he provided meals and supplies to his employees. In April of 2020, he provided victory belts to the Overland High School wrestling team. In May of 2020, he donated over 75 boxes of Girl Scout cookies to a local battered women's shelter. In July of 2020, he fed the members of Aurora Fire Station 2. And in May of 2021, Legends received the City of Aurora Business Recognition Award. Funny how these things have gone unnoticed by the media. But I can tell you why. Steve is a solid member of the Aurora community with sound conservative principles that at the core are offensive to some. So be it. You are allowed to disagree with the ideals that Steve upholds, but attacking his character is wrong. Steve is the man that invites you to a swim party in his dad's backyard, whose wife has unwavering faith, and whose generosity knows no bounds. And Steve's the friend that will call you when your mom is undergoing cancer treatment. Uphold this man. He is a pillar of this community, and we are lucky to have him. Thank you for your time. I know what an important night this is, and it's been an honor to be in this room with you all. Thank you.
Zach Heaton, followed by Naomi Caldwell.
Good evening, City Council. Before I start, Sundberg, good luck for whatever you're dealing with. I have no idea what's going on, but yikes. Seemed like a straight shooter in my dealings with you, so good luck, man. So the rest of you guys, I don't even think I need my full 3 minutes tonight. I really wanted to come up and give some gratitude to our City Clerk, Kitty Rodriguez, for walking me through the initiative and referendum process. I still stand that our city website is more complex than college physics, but I digress. I really also wanted to follow up with City Council because we do have some sort of initiative, movement, something towards a full-time City Council with appropriate funding to make you guys actually paid more than like $8 an hour for the work that you guys do. Put a face to it, you know. I'm the guy who's emailing you guys. I think Councilwoman Bergen and Councilman Marcano both said they would get those because we have some missing minutes and stuff, so I can pester you guys further. So yeah, rock on. If that can get scheduled, and that's it. Happy Monday. Happy New Year. Cheers.
Naomi Caldwell, followed by William Montgomery.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. I want to thank you for your continued leadership for our community. In any position of leadership, it is challenging to be hyper-aware of what you say, your response to an email, a text, and your post on social media. Given the situation with Councilman Sundberg, I would like to share some insight about him. I have known Steve, his father, and his family for over 25 years. We met during the fireworks softball tournament that continues today, brings thousands of visitors to Aurora. Legends of Aurora would feed over the 400 college scouts that attended. He has continually donated meals to local schools and youth programs and feeds students and families. He has volunteered hundreds of hours and donated meals to the Leadership Aurora program, the Diversity Summit, the Women in Business Committees. He was chair of the Leadership Aurora board when the Chamber created the new Emerging Leaders program concentrating on community members developing their leadership skills. He has opened his business and donated meals to numerous fundraisers for the Aurora Police Department and Fire Department. As a small business, during COVID, one of his goals was to keep all of his employees employed, which he did. These are just a small few examples of what he has done for our community. Steve is first and foremost a husband and father in a very diverse family. He's a businessman. He's an inexperienced politician who, despite during times of COVID, made some unintentionally offensive marketing choices for his business. As an Asian woman married to a Hispanic man, I understand why people are upset. His attempted humor was an effort to showcase his diverse menu. I know that Steve has a genuinely good heart and is willing to help a diverse community. And as he continues to put forth efforts to rectify the situation, I'm here to ask you to allow him the grace to do just that. Thank you.
William Montgomery, followed by Tanya Tabachek.
Good evening. My name is William Montgomery. I am actually a hometown resident of Fort Collins, Colorado. But, you know, I fell on hard times, and I actually got ran out of that town by some pretty corrupt cops, and came down here to Denver. Turns out they're down here as well, and so are the business owners and practically everybody I run into. I'm actually a pretty sharp guy. I just fell on hard times with some medical problems. I'm very clean cut, don't do drugs, don't drink. But basically, it's really funny, all this talk about justice and, you know, anti-bigotry and upholding values and stuff, honestly, is just complete crock of bullshit to the homeless community. And from my experience dealing with 300 cops now, dozens of judges, attorneys, you name it, I have seen it all. I've made a YouTube channel now out of it, guilty until proven innocent. But anyways, only got 2 minutes left. So basically, what ends up happening is people don't take my 911 calls, and they don't hold people who wrong me accountable. And the worst has now officially happened. I never thought I would actually see this in a million years, guys. I'm not joking you. Okay, I was gonna play a video tonight, but you guys won't let me. So YouTube the terms RV hate crime, hit and run. Homeless RV hate crime, double hit and run. So essentially, 2 nights ago, there was somebody who decided to ram specifically my RV after ramming another RV right behind me, parked behind me. And they avoided all the cars on the road. Now, it's one thing to just, you know, hate RVs and so forth, and I can understand, you know, maybe some parking issues, but this was cold and this was calculated. You got to see the video. I caught it on my dash cam. But what really, really pains me, what really makes me die inside is that I reported this to 2 police officers. They showed up on the scene, took the call, but not really. They charged this person, I showed them the video and everything, they charged this person with careless driving and, you know, a hit and run there. But I mean, I literally showed them everything. I begged them, I explained to them that the other RV was hit as well. They didn't go look at it. They pushed back every single opportunity that they could to not charge this person with something reckless, something malicious. And so, you know, I'm going up the channels now with Internal Affairs, but basically, go look at the video for yourself. These officers, Officer Ryan Iwamoto and Officer George Salas, literally did not take my 911 call, and I think it's because I was homeless. You have to see this video. It is unmistakable. Any cop that sees this video would charge them with felony criminal mischief. Felony 5 is actually what it's supposed to be, and reckless driving. So maybe Internal Affairs might handle this. In my experience, they haven't. But if you see that video for yourself, maybe you can personally note somewhere to fire at least these 2 cops. I may not get much justice anywhere else, but oh my God, please do something about just these 2 cops. Thank you.
Tanya Tabachek, followed by Aaron Futrell.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I originally was going to come talk about one thing, but on all this new information, I have more to say. Again, the other day, last night, it seemed that Concord College was a racing spin zone. And I know I'm repeating this, and I mention this every so often, but at Sunday night, that college should have no cars in it. It shouldn't have cars speeding around in circles and facing each other and whatever they're doing there. We did call the police again last night. We were told that they would show up. We went by, at first the lights were on and so forth. We drove by again, and there were still 50 cars there. They didn't have their lights on, so who knows, they were trying to say, hey, we're here, but not here doing anything. But my opinion is there should be no cars in that parking lot, period. Shouldn't be allowed to do that, period, and so forth. Another thing is we all make mistakes. We all have issues. None of us is perfect. So judging and prejudging is not right. I mean, things happen in people's past, bringing it back up and so forth. Like I said, we make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. It needs to be, we need to work together as a city and as a community. And no one should be pushed or degraded or humiliated. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Aaron Futrell, followed by Alexandra Jackson.
Good evening, Honorable Council, Mayor. Hope your holidays were good. I wasn't expecting to be up here so soon, but the news broke during the holiday of an offensive social media post. So that is what I'm up here to speak about. Most of you, I saw a majority of you guys out there celebrating, giving honor to Martin Luther King Jr. as we begin this week-long celebration to Martin Luther King Jr., a man who committed his life to diversity and inclusion. And to that, at this time, we as a city are embroiled in a controversy because a representative posted something that lacked cultural insensitivity. This is not an attack on this person's character, whatnot. It's more of a plea for them to take a refresher course in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I was asked I was coming home the other night from a movie, and one of my friend's children noticed an All-American city sign that promotes Aurora as an All-American, but it was written in Spanish. And they asked me, why is it written in Spanish? And I told them that the city of Aurora promotes and cherishes diversity. And that's the best way that I can explain Aurora. I love Aurora. You guys have seen me passionate about it. And I also love the food at Legends, I'll be honest. But the offensive social media post leaves a sour taste in our mouths. Other than that, thank you for the time to speak, and save the Aurora Reservoir.
So Alexandra is actually on the call-in line, so we're going to go over to the call-in line now. Kathy or Tia, we can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, Tamara, if you are still there, we need to go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Kaufman and members of the council for the opportunity to speak. I apologize that I cannot be there in person tonight. My name is Tamara, and I have been a resident of Aurora for 30 years, and I've had the opportunity to work and participate in my community for a number. I understand the concern brought forward regarding the controversial marketing videos produced and posted by Councilman Steve Sundberg during COVID. I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting Steve about 7 years ago when I started a new position in Aurora, and he was one of the first friendly faces I encountered. I came to learn quickly that Steve is a leader who genuinely cares about the community he serves. As a part of my work at Aurora, I helped start the Diversity and Inclusion Council for the Chamber and needed a lot of assistance for the first event. Steve stepped right in and bent over backwards to provide food for the event and also supply volunteers when in need. Since then, he's been a major sponsor and supporter of the council and other like events. Steve and his father have owned and operated Legends of Aurora, a family-friendly neighborhood restaurant for decades. And during every experience I have had there, which to admit is almost every week, I've seen him treat all of their customers with respect and like family. Steve has employed not only his family, but his son and his daughter's friends, giving them an opportunity to work when others wouldn't. He has provided jobs for many high school students and sponsored sporting events when no one else would or could. As a mixed Indian and Middle Eastern woman, I do completely understand the offense that these videos can cause, but as a good friend of Steve's, I would like to defend his character in saying that it was truly unintentional. During COVID, an uncertain time of fear, many took action to do what was needed to be done to save their business, protect their families, and provide for those in need. Steve did all of the above, including providing for hundreds in need, even outside of his family. We are all guilty of miscommunication, and hopefully we learn from our mistakes. Steve has made efforts to do what he can to show his compassion for all that he serves and will continue to do what it takes. Please allow him the opportunity to do this and show his true inclusive character and nature. Thank you for your time.
Alexandra, you're next. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Can you hear me? I hope so. Okay. Good evening, council people and Mr. Mayor. My name is Alexandra Jackson. I've lived in Aurora, Colorado my whole life. My professional background of 8 years is in diversity, equity, and inclusion, otherwise known as DEI work. Through the recent media releasing concerning Councilperson Sundberg and his offensive commercial, I have become moved to speak with you all today. However, my motivations really stem from the approval of budget cuts related to the DEI office and recommended resolutions as a result of the murder of Elijah McClain. I believe between the voting record of Sundberg along with the recent scandal, there's a clear established pattern of some implicit and explicit bias that impede his ability to truly serve the community that is Aurora. There is real hurt in this room today and in the community as a result of the commercial that was released. I ask you all to consider how important DEI training is. There is a lot of misunderstanding about what DEI work is and what it looks like. However, looking at this commercial and the response from the community is a perfect example of why DEI work is needed, especially by elected officials with public good as a priority. DEI is a tool to minimize harm and to connect people. It is a complex and delicate practice. Perhaps had Councilperson Sundberg or anyone in his close circles had been given evidence-based education or organized time for critical self-reflection as it relates to topics of DEI, then we would be having a very different conversation tonight. The sentiment of serving diverse cultures is one thing. However, the execution of this sentiment completely missed the mark and created harm to historically underrepresented communities that often must compete against negative stereotypes associated with their culture. As City Council members, this event reflects negatively on the communities of color and people who share values of inclusivity, diversity, and equity. Harm and pain are inevitable parts of life. However, it is our duty as humans to minimize the harm we cause. Therefore, I'm asking the people of the City Council for 2 things. 1, to reconsider the before-mentioned budget cuts related to DEI efforts and invest further. And 2, consider creating DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion standards and cultural competencies that citizens can expect our elected City Council members to learn and uphold. Lastly, I will leave you with a quote from an activist and poet, Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Thank you for your time.
That was the last individual.
Mayor, could I take a minute?
Councilmember Sundberg.
About January 2nd, I pulled up at King Soopers. I was maybe 10, 12 or more cars back, and it was extremely icy. As I got out of my car, I saw an older African-American lady, probably of Ethiopian descent, and she was struggling. She didn't want to take another step. And I approached her. We made eye contact. I put my arm out. She took my arm, and we walked across the ice very slowly and had a conversation for a few minutes. When we reached the concrete, and we wished each other a good day and a happy new year. But that type of example is in my heart, and I'm glad to do that all day long, no matter who it is. And I think it also represents what Aurora is. I see kindness happening in our city frequently on a daily basis, whether that's someone holding a door open for someone at a convenience store or smiling. There's a lot of kindness in our community. And if you remember a week ago with Damar Hamlin lifeless on the football field, it doesn't matter what color you are, you were concerned about him in a genuine fashion. It's an honor to represent Ward 2. I believe I do it well. I am responsive, etc. I won big over 3 other people. People felt confident in me to not allow this city in the direction of a failed, overly permissive city on the West Coast that's not enforcing the law, etc. A couple of years ago, a local news station came into our business and did a very in-depth interview with our staff, myself, camera work, looked at all of our videos, and decided to portray the positive instead of just focusing in a hyper way on the negative. By the way, there's some funny videos in there. My Yukon Cornelius video, Mayor. I look like the guy. So a lot of positive, fun things did happen. So I've spoken with a lot of groups, whether that's this Council of American Islamic Relations, the NAACP. State senators, have had some good conversations with them about this, and I'm grateful for the conversations we've had. And I thank you for the community leaders who have supported me, have reached out, demonstrating their support. But I do pledge, going forward, to continue to build unity in this community and bring people together and fight for Aurora, and I'll certainly learn from my mistakes. So thank you, everyone, for your support. I appreciate it, and God bless Aurora.
Is there anybody else who wishes to be heard?
No.
Are we no longer required to adopt the agenda?
Yes.
I don't see it on my...
It's number 9. Number 9.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's top of the next page. Motion to adopt the agenda.
Mayor, so moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, second Gardner, second by?
Bergen.
Second by Councilmember Bergen to adopt the agenda. Discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the agenda.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
Councilmember Sundberg?
Yes.
The motion passes to adopt the agenda.
We are now, due to the change that Mayor Pro Tem Gardner put forward, we are breaking the consent calendar into 2 separate parts, one that I have the ability to vote on and the other one that I do not. So for the first one, the question before us is need a motion for the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember McConnell, seconded by? Gardner. Seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Gardner to approve to approve the consent calendar, item number 10A1. Discussion? I see no discussion. Call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A1.
Mayor Kaufman?
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes to adopt the consent calendar motions.
Next question is the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 10A1 through, 11A1 through 11A6. Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, motion to approve 11A1 through 11A6.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by?
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Mayor, I'm sorry, we did have an individual who wanted to speak on item 11A1.
And for purposes of discussion, I will take out item 11A4.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. I'd also like to take out item 11A2.
A what?
A2.
Very well. Then the question before us.
Do I have to redo my motion?
What's that?
Do I have to redo my motion then?
No.
No?
Well, no, because who seconded your motion?
Jurenski.
Councilmember Jurenski. Then I think we're going to pull the items.
As long as the motion is second, if you're okay with removing 11A1 and 11A2.
And 11A4 for purposes of discussion.
And A4.
Very well. So the question before us is the adoption of the consent calendar. Item 11A3, item 11A5, and item 11A6. Discussion? See no discussion, then call for the question on consent calendar 11A3, 11A5, and 11A6.
And Mayor, also, we can do the finalizing of ordinances, would it be 12A1 as well?
Yeah, we're going to do that separate.
No, 11B.
Oh, God.
12A1, finalizing of ordinances that were approved at first reading unanimously.
I don't, I'm sorry.
That's
I mean, I'm sorry, 11B1, yes,
That's
11B1. I'm sorry. 11B1, is that included in your motion, Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
11B1?
11B1 should be included?
Yes.
Very well. Is that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Very well.
Thank you.
So 11B1. Discussion? See no discussion, call for the question on the adoption of the consent calendar, item number 11A3, 11A5, 11A6, and 11B1.
Councilmember Zvonek?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes to adopt the consent calendar with items 11A1, 11A2, and 11A4 removed.
Would clerk now please read the title to 11A1?
11A1 is Resolution 2022-237, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado to modify the rules of order and procedure for the Aurora, Colorado City Council regarding the start time for regular City Council meetings.
I believe we have someone to speak on 11A1.
Yes, Tanya Tabachek.
Hello, good evening, Mayor and council members. I know that last time had brought it up that you were moving the meeting from 6:30 to 6, I believe it was. I myself, right now, I work until 5, but I'm luckily at home and I work at home. But I know that many people, including my other coworkers that live far away or so forth, it takes some time to go from one side of the city to the other side of the city. So I would think that leaving it as is would be the best time to leave it as. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public invited to be heard? 11A1. Seeing none, a motion is in order on 11A1.
Mayor, motion to approve 11A1.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, seconded by
Sundberg.
Seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to approve item number 11A1. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend 11A1 to have public invited to follow the consent calendar, which would then give people more time.
Very well. It's been moved by Councilmember Bergen, seconded by
Gardner.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner to put public invited to be heard after the consent calendar. Discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coons.
So I think, given that the majority of items are now on the consent calendar, that would potentially put people in an even worse position in terms of testifying on agenda items if we actually move that in front of public invited to be heard. So I'm not going to support that.
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Gardner.
Public invited to be heard is not for agenda items, so that's irrelevant. Public invited to be heard is for comment to City Council for non-agenda items only.
Mayor, can I
Councilmember Coons.
clarify? Thank you. Right, but if we put that after the consent calendar, where most things are, if people wanted to sign up to comment on agenda items, they would now be having to do that right at the beginning of the meeting, whereas public invited to be heard being first would give people that buffer time to arrive before their agenda item is up, since the majority of things are now on consent. So if we put consent first, then comment on agenda items starts promptly at 6 p.m. And when people have jobs, they may not be able to get here promptly at 6 p.m. And wouldn't then be able to pull the item off the agenda. So I think it actually worsens the problem we're talking about. I appreciate the spirit, which is to try to find a compromise, but I don't think that it actually helps with the issue of people being able to testify before council.
Further discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to call for the question.
Very well. That requires a second. It's been moved. The motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem to call for the question. It does require a second, doesn't it?
Yes.
Very well. Motion then dies for lack of a second. Is there further discussion on 11A1?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. And I also do want to acknowledge the, I think, spirit of compromise with this proposal that we're discussing. I just want to remind council that we had this discussion, I think it was last year or the year before last, when we agreed to meet to separate study sessions from our regular meetings. And we also changed the timing of when our meetings start so that we actually don't let them drag on too late into the night. And still allow folks who may be working a usual 9-to-5 shift to participate. Last time we met, I think it was actually at a study session, it was brought up that not everyone works, a 9-to-5 shift. Completely agree with that. But the decision was made to have our meetings be as accessible for folks who work that shift. What we're doing here is going to make it inaccessible for those folks and folks who work a night shift as well. So what we're doing, I've heard that the goal is to not keep staff here late because they don't get any kind of comp time or anything like that. I would actually ask the city manager to create a policy around comp time for staff that are, here for our council meetings, because I don't think it's fair that they're expected to then come in the next day at the same time when they might have been up with the rest of us and the listening public, late into the evening. So I'm not going to support this amendment nor the original motion. I think that 6:30 is a good time where we capture folks after they're able to get home, get a meal, spend some time with their family, et cetera. So that's what I got.
Councilmember Bergen.
I'm going to withdraw my amendment. I do believe that Councilmember Coombs made a good point about the agenda items that people would want to pull from the agenda. So I'm withdrawing my amendment.
Very well. Further discussion. So now, let's see. Well, then, that was the only amendment offered, so now we're just back to the 11A1 unamended. Further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question on 11A1.
Councilmember Marcano?
Sorry, I got logged out in the middle of that for some reason.
That's okay. How would you like to vote?
No.
No. The motion does not pass with 4 yes votes, 6 no votes. The yes votes from Councilmember Zavonic, Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, Councilmember Drinsky, and Councilmember Sundberg.
Will clerk now please read the title to item number 11A2?
Item 11A2 is Resolution 2023-01, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, expressing the Aurora City Council's approval of an oil and gas lease agreement with Maverick Mineral Partners II, LLC, for city-owned mineral interests within Section 6, Township 4 South, Range 65 West of the 6th Principal Meridian, County of Arapahoe, State of Colorado, containing 33.5197 acres.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mayor. So the reason I wanted to pull this item was for us to get a presentation for the public around this specific site and also about how forced pooling works.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Jeffrey Moore. I'm the manager of the oil and gas division here for the city. With me tonight is Ian Best with the city attorney's office and Hector Reynoso, manager of real property services. And as soon as my slides are ready to go, we will begin. Great, thank you very much. We're talking tonight about a oil and gas leasing opportunity with Maverick Mineral Partners, Township 4 South, Range 65 West, Section 6. Hector Reynoso is going to begin by discussing the area of this lease and some details about the property itself.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name is Hector Reynoso, and I'm the manager of the Rural Property Services Division in the Public Works Department at the City of Aurora. The subject property you will see is highlighted in blue on the screen there. It's located on the southeast quadrant of I-70 and E-470. The properties were, the city acquired between 2016 and 2021. The city acquired approximately 57 acres of land from 4 property owners, including the yellow, non-blue highlighted property to the west of the subject property, for a total of $6,658,000 as part of the First Creek Detention Pond Project. The First Creek Detention Pond Project is a partnership between the City of Aurora and the Mile High Flood Control District to construct a regional detention pond on those properties to accommodate existing and future development within the First Creek Basin.
Great. Thank you, Hector. This lease area is part of a drilling and spacing unit that's been approved by the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. It's number DSU 535-902. It's comprised of 2 square miles, 2 sections of land, 1,280 acres. The DSU will be accessed by 8 wells drilled from the Jameso well site, which is shown there on the right side of the screen. Those wells originally began drilling several years ago. The operator is returning this weekend to begin the completion of those drilling. The operator, Civitas Resources, has already leased greater than 45% of the minerals within the DSU. They have stated that to me, and I've confirmed that with the records recorded oil and gas leases in Arapahoe County. The actions that we've been taking on this so far: we received an unsolicited offer from Axis Exploration, which is part of Civitas Resources. We initiated a 30-day competitive bid process. I emailed 11 operators and 2 industry groups that are active in the Adams and Arapahoe County areas. We posted the opportunity on our Oil and Gas Division webpage and Aurora social media. 2 bids were received by the deadline of November 14th. The original one from Axis Exploration, and a new one from Maverick Mineral Partners. Maverick Mineral Partners is a Denver-based mineral owner and investment group, and there are representatives from that entity here this evening, should you have any questions for them. The offer from Civitas or Axis Exploration was $4,000 an acre as an upfront bonus, 20% royalty on production, and a 3-year primary term to begin drilling. The offer from Maverick Mineral Partners was $8,375 per net mineral acre as an upfront bonus and a matching 20% royalty and 3-year primary term. The way this would work, if approved, is Maverick Mineral Partners would participate in the drilling of the well as a working interest owner, so they would share in both the cost and the profit of drilling the well, and then they would provide the bonus to the city, which we already have the check in hand, and the operator would pay the royalty to the city. The options are to accept the offer, sign the lease, deposit the check of $280,727. We'd receive a 20% royalty from first production, an estimated of $210,000 royalty per well. I do note that is based on commodity prices and is an estimate. That is not a guaranteed income amount. There are 8 wells, as I mentioned before. Those royalties would come over 20 to 30 years of the life of the production life of the well. The first 4 years would provide about 70% of the total revenue. Also, there'd be no surface access or occupancy on these particular properties. As I mentioned, the wells will be drilled not from the surface of these properties, but from the Jameso well site to the east. The other option is to reject the offer and be force pooled. The parcel would be force pooled under COGC requirements and state law. The operator would be allowed to do that because they do have more than 45% of the total minerals within the DSU already under lease. If we did that, we would become a non-consenting working interest owner after a 200% penalty. We would not be able to restrict the surface access, and that would create potential issues as a local government entity because of Tabor rules and unfunded liabilities. We do recommend in the oil and gas division the first option to accept the offer. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions for staff?
Mayor?
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, thank you, Jeffrey. So obviously on the last slide, you presented the opinions on accepting or not accepting. And can you explain, one of the points is no ability to restrict surface access if we reject the lease.
Correct. Thank you for your question, Councilmember Bergen. If we do sign a lease, we can add provisions as we like. It's a private contract agreement. In our standard lease that we offer to operators, we do include a provision that says no surface occupancy. That means that there's no ability for the operator to drill a well from that property or access the property to stage equipment or anything else related to the drilling. If we don't sign a lease, then we lose that opportunity.
Okay, so that would actually be detrimental to our residents if we didn't have that ability to restrict the surface access, possibly.
It could be, yes.
Okay.
Further questions of
Thank you.
staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So Jeffrey, I just wanted to clarify that the only folks who have access jurisdiction basically for any drilling site, whether it's this one or other ones throughout the city, that would be the COGCC, correct?
Could you rephrase your question?
Yeah, sorry. The entity that can regulate whether or not activity is going to happen is the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission.
This particular property is within the city limits of Aurora, so if an operator wanted to propose drilling a well on this property, we would have the authority to say yes or no on that particular property.
So we actually would have surface regulation then for someone to set up the siting here. And then, but ultimately the permits do get approved through the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, correct?
Yes, the state Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission also approves all wells in addition to whatever the local entity might be, whether it's a city or a county.
Great, thank you.
Further questions of staff? Seeing none, motion is in order.
Mayor, motion to approve 11A2.
It's moved by Mayor Pro Tem Gardner, seconded by
Sundberg.
Seconded by Councilmember Sundberg to approve item number 11A2. Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So I just want to speak to members of the public who've contacted me and others about this and some of the other activity that's happening in the city. By and large, as you heard, we are not really able to do too much around this kind of activity as council, especially when it's outside of the city limits. So my recommendations to all the folks who've reached into us would be to contact your state legislatures. You can find all of that information pretty readily accessible online, and ask them to revise state statute and the regulatory authority of the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission in a way that would suit the ends that you are all looking for. Whether you want the city to have more control over that, or if you want direct resident control over development, or if you even want to change the force pooling maximums to be an actual majority as opposed to 45%, which I believe is what they're currently set for. There's a lot of options, so please reach out to your state legislators and do keep contacting us as well, because most of us are able to reach into them and let them know that's something that we're hearing a lot from our community. But I just wanted to let you know where the real ability to impact this currently rests, and that's with the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, and to a limited extent with City Council when activity is taking place within the city.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I call for the question on the adoption of item number 11A2.
The motion passes to adopt Resolution 2023-01, I'm sorry.
Clerk, now please read the title to item number 11A4.
Item 11A4 is Resolution 2023-03, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, authorizing the execution of the professional services agreement between the City of Aurora, Colorado and Aurora Economic Development Council, Inc.
A brief presentation by staff.
Good evening, council members. My name is Andrea Amanek. I am the Development Services Manager in the Department of Planning and Development Services. Tonight before you, we have a contract with Aurora Economic Development Council that we are proposing. It is a contract that has been approved in the past for the last, say, 30 years. And due to the long history and continuing nature of the services that this economic development partner provides, staff is recommending a 3-year agreement for 2023 through 2025, subject to annual appropriation. The contract, I will note, has been updated to include best practices and recommendations from a recent internal audit conducted by city audit staff in the areas of management and monitoring work. I'll be happy to answer any specific questions that council has about this continuing.
Questions of staff? Seeing none.
Oh, sorry.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes. Do we have a similar agreement with Visit Aurora?
It is my understanding that our agreement with Visit Aurora, also an economic development partner, is also for a 3-year period.
Okay, thank you.
For any further questions of staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Andrew, for the presentation. I looked in the backup and I could not find pay scales for the executive leadership of the organization. Is that something that you would happen to have handy?
I do not have that with me, but I'd be happy to collect that information and provide it to you.
Okay. Mayor, a follow-up if I may.
Please proceed.
All right. Since you don't have it handy, I had a constituent send me some documents that are a couple of years old now, but I was pretty shocked to see that the president gets a salary of $400,000 a year when our contribution is $550,000. And I understand that that's shared between a couple of other jurisdictions, but that still seemed shocking to me. Can you confirm that that's around the price or what that salary still is?
So our contribution under this contract is $550,000, and I believe that based on information that I've received, that the city's contribution represents approximately 19% of their total budget. That's the information I have. The organization is here to answer any specific questions you have about that, if you'd like.
Yes, if we have people present, I would like to know. Sorry, I can't see who's in chambers.
Very well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Should we go on this side?
This side, if you can't. I know you only have one chair, but I'll be happy to move. He can move another chair over.
That is correct. 19% of our budget comes from the City of Aurora. The rest of the funds are funds that are raised privately.
Councilmember McConnell.
Okay, thank you. And can we get confirmation on the salary ranges for yourself and the vice president?
I am not 100% sure what my salary is, but I think that's highly inappropriate for you to ask that.
A question for our legal counsel. Is there a requirement for her to answer what her income is?
No.
The question.
So you may ask that question, and the financials would indicate. So we get to review the financials of AEDC, so that should be provided in those financials.
Very well. Councilmember McConnell.
Yes, Mayor. So again, I have these documents, and I'm going to just go off of them if that is the answer I'm going to get. But $400,000 seems like an egregious salary. That is what the President of the United States makes for an economic development firm. I understand the rest of the bulk of your budget is privately raised. That's great, but we're contributing 20% almost. So I feel like our residents have a right to know, given the substantial contribution that we make every year.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yeah, I'm not sure a question like that has ever been asked before. And we are asking the only woman who is the head of any of our economic development partners. So I would like to now call for the salary of every man who is the president or executive of any of our AEDC partners. And I applaud you, Wendy Mitchell. I don't care how much you make. If you make $400,000, I applaud you, woman to woman, from my salary to your salary. You're a boss, and I applaud you.
Very well. I think the question is, and maybe staff can look this up, for all of our economic development partners, what is the salary? Salary and benefits.
Mayor.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, this would be to AEDC. Can you tell us about the revenues that or the tax revenues that are brought to the city on an annual basis and possibly over the last several decades?
Happy to. Good evening, Council. So based on just last year's results, we've worked with 18 companies that will generate $1.1 billion in terms of capital investment, and that's not including payrolls. From that, we estimate that they'll approximately create $32 million of net new tax revenue to the city, and that's 58 times the contribution that the city makes.
Right, and the reason I asked that question is I think this needs to be put in perspective. The return on investment, we are receiving a lot of money, tax revenues that come to the city, not including, the other impacts of the economic development with jobs and so forth. So I think we'd put that question that Councilmember Marcano into perspective, that it is well worth it from a value proposition. And I agree with Councilmember Jurenski. If someone is successful at their job, they should be well compensated. This is America.
Further questions of staff?
Mayor Sundberg.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Yeah, I just appreciate the work that Visit Aurora does, the Chamber of Commerce, ADC, and let's pay people top dollar for the excellent work they do. And do you remember a report that came out about mental health organizations around the state that were largely ineffective through auditing? Some of those salaries were egregious, nothing like what we just heard there. And I just, again, think we should pay people top dollar for the excellent work they're doing.
Further questions of staff?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So since there's some information that's being requested that's not present around this and other issues, I wonder if we can continue this item until after the winter workshop, when we've been able to get that information as well as other discussion about economic development within the city. So my proposal would be to continue this item until after the winter workshop.
Councilmember Coombs has a motion to continue. Moved by Councilmember Coombs, seconded by?
Marcano.
Seconded by Councilmember Marcano. Discussion on the motion to continue?
Mayor.
Councilmember Jurenski. I'm sorry, date certain on the motion to continue?
The council meeting after the winter workshop, I'd have to look at
the
calendar.
When is that? City Clerk?
Yes, let me pull up the calendar really quickly. The winter workshop is in the beginning of February.
I'm sorry?
The winter workshop is in the beginning of February.
February 4th?
So February 4th, the next council meeting would be February 13th.
February 13th? So the motion is to lay it over till February 13th. Discussion on the motion to continue.
Mayor.
I need clarification.
Councilmember Sundberg.
The city is contributing just 19% of their budget. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we're concerned about that salary. When they raised the lion's share of their funding on their own, privately, through a lot of hard work, the A-list event, you name it, they're making that happen, and we're just giving them 19%, and we're making such a big deal of it.
For further discussion
Mayor.
on the motion to continue, Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, this is simply to extend a 3-year contract instead of doing this on an annual basis. As Andrea Amanek just stated, it's subject to annual appropriations already, and this can be terminated at any time, right? Rachel, our attorney?
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Bergen. There's a provision in the agreement that the agreement may be terminated with 30 days' notice at the convenience of the city.
So with or without cause?
There's nothing in the agreement that says it has to be for cause. It can be at the convenience of the city with
Very
30
well.
days' notice in writing.
And if I may continue, Mayor?
Please.
Yeah, and so I don't understand why we would want to continue this when it's simply a 3-year contract that we already afford to visit Aurora. And it really should be a simple question.
Councilmember Jurenski.
So the information I requested is because, I mean, if we are going to just boldly demand Wendy Mitchell's salary, then every man doing economic development in this city is also going to present his salary.
I think that was
doesn't-
already put forward.
Okay, so I'm saying, but she wants to delay this because we're waiting for information to come forward. So I'm saying that holds no bearing on my vote. We're literally trying to hold this up to see if Wendy Mitchell exactly makes $400,000 a year. And if that's egregious, Juan, you should level up.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs.
So the issue is not hold this up, it's right, there's this information that we're trying to get, and then we are also having a more comprehensive economic development conversation. So the intent is not just to hold things up, it's to have that comprehensive conversation, at which point we can get that information and then have the vote on this. So it's just so that we have that economic development strategy, which we've already said we're going to discuss at the winter workshop, to inform how we're approaching this
Mayor.
contract.
Councilmember Bergen.
So originally you asked for, Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Coombs, for the salary information, and that's why you want the continuation. And it has no bearing on a 3-year contract. I mean, the salary is the salary, whatever it is. The question at hand is whether we want to extend a 3-year contract that we already do to other entities.
Further discussion.
Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. So Councilmember Bergen, that is not actually correct. The reason we're trying to hold this up is because we're trying to have a more robust economic development conversation. You guys wanted to fixate on the salary question, which I still think, we have a right to know what we're paying our contractors and why. But that's, I guess, an aside for the moment. But frankly, I am dissatisfied with the fact that, a lot of the things that are brought forward to council are not even housing wage jobs. And we are contributing to this organization. I don't like the annual junket that you all spend half of our travel budgets on to go to, when we already pay Accelerate Colorado $25,000 a year on top of that. So these are issues that I have with this entity and the way we're doing business. I think that we have other opportunities available to us in the city to either run our economic development in-house, to put out to bid and see if we can find better partners that are actually willing to develop our city's economic base, as opposed to finding other folks to come here and pay people poverty wages.
Mayor.
Further
Call for the question.
Councilmember Jurenski. Councilmember Jurenski made the motion, call for the question. Is there a second? Second. And it's been seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Gardner. Call for the question on call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, Mayor votes yes on call for the question.
Okay. The motion passes with 8 yes votes, 3 no votes to call for the question. No votes, Councilmember Marcano, Coombs, and Mario.
We're back to the Coombs motion to continue. Further discussion. I'm sorry, it passed. Oh, so we're.
No, Mayor, we have not voted on the,
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
we need to vote on the Coombs amendment.
right. Okay. To the Coombs amendment to continue.
No, the Coombs amendment, yes, to continue to the February 13th council meeting.
Right. Okay. There's no further discussion. Okay. Call for the question on the Coombs amendment.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion does not pass with 5 yes votes, 6 no votes. The yes votes, Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, Mayor Kaufman, and Councilmember Murillo.
Very well. Now to the item number 11-4A itself. Further discussion on item number 11A4. Let me just say that neither the city nor the AEDC has a comprehensive economic development plan to move forward. And I believe that's why we've been underperforming in terms of wages. We've been giving tax incentives for not simply for average wages, but for below average wages. And I think that I think this is just incredible. And I think we can do better. And that's why we need an economic development study, and that's what we're going to be discussing on February 4th. I don't think we should be making this decision until after we've at least authorized the study. And so with that, further discussion on the adoption of item number 11A4.
Mayor, we need a motion and a second for, we never got an original motion and second for this item.
We didn't do an original motion?
No.
Oh, very well. Motion to approve item number 11A4.
Mayor,
Councilmember Bergen.
motion to approve 11A4.
So moved by Councilmember Bergen, second by
Sundberg.
Councilmember Sundberg to approve item number 11A4. Discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember McConnell.
Thank you, sir. I just want to say I agree with what you said. I've spoken with business owners here. I've spoken with folks who work for chambers of commerce for other jurisdictions. And God, Councilor Murillo and I actually spoke with international chambers of commerce. They have no idea what is happening in Aurora and the tremendous potential that we have here. Ways that we can actually grow our local economy, ways that we can actually provide high quality employment opportunities for our existing residents. They have no idea that we have a medical center. They have no idea that we have an air and spaceport. And these are things that our economic development organization should be doing. Clearly, it seems that that's not happening. So I think that we need to investigate better opportunities, like I said, either to bring this in-house or find other partners to make this happen with. Because we should not be getting, basically people looking at us without any idea of what's happening in this city when we're having these kinds of conversations.
Councilmember Bergen.
Yes, I find that very interesting that you know people that don't know that we have medical, Anschutz Medical Center, one of the most world-renowned medical campuses in the world. I talk about this all the time at my town halls, and so I think my constituents are very aware of all the contributions that are happening and all the economic development that happens up in the Northeast area that has been significant, including the Gaylord Resort that has also brought economic development because the Gaylord came here. So I find that interesting because I think it's brought up. I don't know if you even attend the AEDC meetings, but I attend every single one of them, and I'm on the executive board, and we go over their vision, their plan. They actually have, a PowerPoint presentation that they do to the community to bolster Aurora, to talk about what's great about our city. So they actually do all that. And this vote is not on whether the city's going to develop an economic plan of its own. I mean, that's fine. We're going to do that. Talk about that at the January workshop. This is not what this is about. This vote is about a contract. Simple.
Further discussion.
Mayor.
Councilmember Lawson.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I've been on the council for 8 years, and I've seen a lot that AEDC has done in the city of Aurora, and they have done a phenomenal job. I guess for me, Councilmember Marcano, the question I kind of have to ask you is, when you're talking about wages, have you actually sat down with AEDC and discussed this issue with them? Have you actually really sat down with them and said, these are your concerns? Because we've been on the council, you've been on the council for 4 years. And I know that you have never, ever brought up salary or anything. And that is part of when they bring their financials. But now all of a sudden you're bringing it up. So I'm just wondering, what is the caveat behind your questioning? Have you actually sat down and talked with them about, okay, here's some of the concerns. Maybe this is some of the things that we want to do, instead of just really just bringing all this out now. And I'm just trying to understand really what is the real premise behind what you're doing, because someone gave you information, but you've been privy to the information probably for 4 years.
Mayor.
I'm sorry. Councilmember Jurenski, then Councilmember Murillo.
I just want to point out that all in this same conversation, it's been declared that there are jobs coming into this city with wages that are too low, but then it also was declared that a $400,000 salary is egregious. So I'm not sure who's setting the floor or the salary here on wages, or if this is all just arbitrary. That was just what I picked up on.
Councilmember Murillo.
Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor. A couple of thoughts. I think the first one is, we're here as a council to discuss, concerns, right? So I'm not going to chastise my colleague for bringing up something that he feels is important to note. I don't want to see that in terms of decorum, and we're not supposed to make our comments a personal attack, right? So I feel like we're walking a fine line of disagreeing and then some, right? So I would just like to remind my colleagues and ask that we continue with a certain level of decorum, right? That we should be showing each other with respect in that regard. The other, I guess, point is when I've had conversations with the AEDC, one thing that I would love to see us do moving forward, right? We talk about kind of median salary, kind of just to piggyback around conversations, the range, right? What is the full picture of salaries that we bring to the table? So, just out of consistency in my conversations with you all, that's something that I want to continue to push for in terms of how we define our economic incentives. I think median salary is a good benchmark, but really what's kind of the floor, the ceiling, what's the full picture of the types of jobs that we're bringing in. So that's something that I have continuously asked for and pushed for, and I want to continue to build that relationship and push for that as well on kind of that macro scale. I know you all bring a lot of jobs. So that's something that I just wanted to share and express that if I do support taking another look, having a comprehensive kind of conversation. So for that reason, I do support pushing, the vote around pushing the conversation. I think it makes sense from a logistics perspective and, sequence of conversations. But that's my opinion, and just wanted to express that. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilmember Coombs. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. So I think that I would have liked to have the more comprehensive conversation before having the vote. We voted against that, and that is what it is. But I think that it is important, and I have had this conversation with the AEDC, that we look at building up our local economy internally. So that we are not only focused on the attraction of primary jobs from outside of our city, but that we are looking at building up the wealth within our community. That we look at creating opportunities to have the people who are already here build their wealth, build their access to business, capital, and to make sure that we're not only looking outside. And that's a conversation that we've had, and I think it's a conversation that we can continue to have and that I hope we do have prior to the February 13th meeting. And I think we, as a city, that needs to be a part of the plan that we bring forward, is one that really looks at what do we already have here in terms of resources, opportunities, even potentially incentives for local people to be building up their wealth, not just incentives for outside folks to be coming here and attracting those outside folks. And so I am going to vote in support of this with the expectation that we continue to have those conversations about what role AEDC can play in using their expertise to help us as a city build up, again, our people here from the ground up, and not something that looks like just top down. And again, I really think we could have had that conversation, had the conversation at the workshop, and then voted on this with that in mind. And so I do hope in the future that my colleagues will consider all the different types of information that we could use in going into these conversations. I'm going to support this and continue to work with them on making sure that we're doing that we're prioritizing our local community.
Further discussion?
Mayor Sundberg.
Councilmember.
Just want to make the brief point that the Aurora Economic Development Council has exceeded their job attraction goal every year. So I commend them for that.
Further discussion?
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I actually have a question, since there's a lot of assumptions being made up here. Can Yuri or Wendy, can one of you two talk about the salaries of the jobs that you're bringing into the city and kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember, Mayor Pro Tem. So yeah, on average, the companies we work with pay an above average wage, meaning above the average of the county is how it's measured. So in Adams County, the average wage is about low 60s. In Arapahoe County, it's high 70s. So it differs between counties, and so the majority of projects we work on bring in that salary, whether it's aerospace companies or bioscience companies or logistics companies or manufacturers or data centers. The average wage of Aurora, and I know it's a little hard, I don't mean to get into the demographics conversation with folks, but to track, but according to our information in the last decade, the average wage of Aurora has grown 50%, and that's due primarily to all of the companies, the dozens of companies we've brought in.
Thank you.
Yuri, what was the last firm? There was a firm below 50,000, and I believe that was the last presentation to us, was it not?
The incentive agreement
The
that
average,
city,
yeah, it was
yes,
incentive.
the incentive agreement that
What
the
was
city
mid-40s?
approved was, the average salary was around $42,000, I believe.
And so I think about 57 is the average for Aurora.
Yeah, that's, I'm not entirely sure, but that sounds about right. Again, it's tracked by county, not by city.
Yeah. Councilmember Morgan.
Okay, so we're talking about, specific companies with specific average salaries and not taking into account all the companies that AEDC has brought in with executive positions as well as middle positions, lower level positions. And I want to say, to those people that took a job that pays, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, that to them may be phenomenal. They may have been working at minimum wage, and they're given an opportunity to work for a company that offers really good benefits, because we don't talk about the benefit package here, but a lot of them have great benefits as well, so you can't just always count on salary. Tuition reimbursement, that type of thing. So I think it's disingenuous it's almost insulting to people that do like their job, that are appreciative of the job that was offered to them. Certainly, I agree with my colleagues. We want to make Aurora better. We want to improve, living conditions for them and wages. But companies that come here, we're trying to attract the best, and it takes time. And I think it's just disingenuous to say that people that make $40,000 or $50,000, $60,000, don't appreciate their jobs. I mean, I started out at minimum wage when I was young, and I built my way up over years into the staffing industry and made a really good salary. But had I not been given a start, probably wouldn't have been here.
Councilmember Bergen, I don't think it's that an insult to the people that have the jobs. The question is it an insult to the taxpayers that subsidize those jobs?
Mayor,
Councilmember Jaworski.
I would just like to say that if a company does not pay enough, then the employees will decide that, and that company will not have any employees. And with that, I would like to call for the question.
Motion to call for the question, moved by Councilmember Jaworski, second by Councilmember Bergen. Call for the question.
Mayor Kaufman.
Mayor votes yes.
I did too.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
The motion passes with 9 yes votes and 2 no votes from Councilmember Marcano and Councilmember Murillo.
We're then back to the original motion. Item number 11A5.
11A4.
11A4. Call for the question on item number 11A4.
Councilmember Medina and Marcano.
No.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes with 9 yes votes and 1 no vote from Councilmember Marcano.
Let's see. Clerk, now please read the title to item number 14A.
Mayor, can we take a brief break?
Very well. The time is now 8:35. We will stand in recess until 8:45. but everybody's here, so. The regular meeting of the Aurora City Council for January 9th, 2023 is called back to order. Will the clerk please read the title to item number 14A?
Item 14A is ordinance 2022-77, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Aurora, Colorado, repealing Article 5, Employer Occupational Privilege Tax, and Article 6, Employee Occupational Privilege Tax of Chapter 130 of the City Code of the City of Aurora and other related matters.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Thank you, Mayor. This is seeking to do away with the occupational privilege tax, which is essentially a head tax on businesses and workers in Aurora. And Mayor, you are the co-sponsor now, so if you have anything to say as well.
Recognize myself. I support this measure, co-sponsor this measure. It doesn't take effect until 2025. Council has the ability at any time to amend this or to repeal this if, in fact, the revenues don't materialize as anticipated. It specifically targets cuts with the exception of public safety and road maintenance. And with that, did you move it?
I'd like to motion to approve item 14A.
Moved by Councilman Jurenski, second by the mayor, to approve item number 14A. Discussion?
Mayor?
Councilmember Jurenski. Motion to call for the question. It's been moved by Councilmember Jurenski, seconded by?
Zvonik.
Seconded by Councilmember Zvonik, who wants to go home. To call for the question. Call for the question on the motion. On the Jurenski motion.
Mayor Kaufman?
Yes.
Councilmember Medina?
No.
No? Okay. The motion passes with 7 yes votes, 4 no votes from Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, and Murillo.
Call for the question on item number on the adoption of item number 14A.
That's okay. Councilmember Medina? No. Councilmember Coombs? This is for the main motion? No. There is a tie, Mayor, 5-5.
Mayor votes yes.
The motion passes with 6 yes votes, 5 no votes. The no votes from Councilmember Medina, Marcano, Coombs, Lawson, and Murillo.
Reports. Mayor's no report. Councilmember Lawson.
Mayor. So the legislative session begins today, and there will be a multitude of bills introduced during this week. The legislative priorities include affordable housing, property tax relief, and public safety.
Councilmember Lawson, I don't think your microphone's on.
Oh, my apologies.
There you
Sorry. Thank you, Councilmember Marcano.
Yes, ma'am.
The legislative session, this is from the Pfizer Committee, Federal, State, and Intergovernmental Relations Committee that I'm the chair of. The legislative session begins today, and there was a multitude of bills introduced during the week. Legislative priorities include affordable housing, property tax, and public safety. The Pfizer Committee will be meeting this Friday, January 13th at 1 p.m., and the committee will meet every 2 weeks during the legislative session. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Gardner.
No report.
Councilmember Jurenski.
Yeah, I just would like to report that the 4 at-large council members, we have scheduled our first town hall for this year. We should have a flyer soon, March 29th at 6 p.m. at what is getting ready to be the brand-new Southeast Rec Center. March 29th, 6 p.m. with all 4 at-large council members.
Councilmember Zvonik.
No report.
Councilmember Murillo.
Thanks, Mayor. My January town hall, we're going to be doing an agenda-setting town hall, and planning on also having Aurora Public Schools, one of the board members, join the conversation. Will be Thursday, January 26th at 6 p.m. at the Moorhead Recreation Center. we alternate between the MLK Library and Moorhead. When we're at Moorhead, we have the technological capacity to do a virtual and in-person hybrid meeting. So we will be able to live stream that if you're not able to come in person. And yeah, that's my announcement. I just want to say that I am disappointed with how the meeting evolved today. I think I hear council members speaking under the breath, council members yelling into the crowd. I think we can do better, y'all. I've been struggling for the last year with how the conversations have evolved. We've continuously used mechanisms to shut down discourse, rather. And I don't think that that's healthy or indicative of a functional council. And I hope that moving forward that we can move away from that type of behavior and act better, do better on behalf of our constituents. There's not many folks here in the chambers right now to have seen kind of the full meeting kind of unfold. So I just wanted to express my disappointment and hope that we can move away from that and hold ourselves to a better standard moving forward. Thanks.
Councilmember Sundberg.
Thank you, sir. Town Hall on Thursday, January 19th, we'll learn of Aurora Public Schools' vision for new schools, P through 8s, learn about magnet schools, learn about school resource officers, those who do the job, why they're passionate about it, what kind of training they have. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes, I had my town hall last week. We had a pretty good, robust conversation around a lot of code issues. And also, I'll be bringing a resolution here in the coming weeks around DEI education for everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. So first, I want to start by saying that I hope that members of the public have taken note how often my colleagues seem to choose to end debate. This is not a normal way to govern, as Councilor Murillo said. This seems to occur when folks don't have the desire or ability to defend their ideas and positions. And I just want to apologize to the public for that. You all deserve better. On a positive note, I want to begin by congratulating Representative Iman Judah, Commissioner Leslie Summey, Commissioner Jessica Campbell-Swanson, Sheriff Tyler Brown, Coroner Kelly Lear, Treasurer Michael Westerberg, Assessor PK Kaiser, and Clerk and Recorder Joan Lopez on getting sworn in earlier this evening. Apologies that many of us were not able to make it. We had council. And I want to let you all know that all of these folks that I just mentioned represent Ward 4 residents at the county level. And I'm looking forward to working with them on issues of import to our community in the year to come. On that note, our next Ward 4 meeting is going to be on Thursday, January 12th at 6:30 p.m. at Colorado Early Colleges. You're going to be able to join via WebEx or in person. And we're going to have presentations followed by Q&A from Aurora Public Schools Director Ann Kiki, District 4 Arapahoe County Commissioner Leslie Summey, and an introduction with Interim APD Chief Art Acevedo. So it should be a really great meeting to kick off the new year, and I hope to see you all there. Take care.
Councilmember Crooms.
Mayor, thank you. So my first town hall of the year will be on Tuesday, the 17th at the Heather Gardens Clubhouse, and we will be doing agenda setting as well as an open Q&A. And in light of some of the comments that have been made regarding decorum, professionalism, respect, I would just like to renew my call, which I've made to each mayor pro tem that I have had the pleasure to serve with. So renew this call and direct toward our current mayor pro tem, Councilmember Gardner, to please include in one of our workshops opportunities for council to set and build norms around mutual respect and engagement with one another, because this has just been an ongoing issue with the councils on which I've served.
Councilmember Bergen.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope everybody had happy holidays. I had my son home, which made me very happy, but I did spend a lot of time actually doing council work during my holidays, helping several homeless people that called me on Christmas Eve, and I spent about 2 hours trying to assist them. Also having to deal with some abatements in other wards and some other issues, so quite busy. I'm looking forward to attending the MLK Interfaith Breakfast, prayer breakfast this Friday, and we did also have fire chief interviews this past week, so those have concluded. And then lastly, I have my next town hall will be on January the 18th, and it will be at Capstick, which is the Police and Fire Training Center on Quincy. And the discussion, which is a very controversial kind of topic on mineral leasing and the cap at Lowry Ranch. So it involves oil and gas, horizontal fracking, and I just want to say to my constituents that I do hear your concerns, and that is why I'm holding the town hall. And we will have Marshall Brown, who's our general manager of water there, to answer concerns about the Aurora Reservoir and drinking water. I have an attorney that is not connected to the city, not connected to the oil and gas Civitas company, also there to answer questions, because I know people did have a lot of concerns about what mineral leasing rights they have. So anyway, I hope it will be a productive meeting. I will try to allow as much time as possible for questions. Thank you.
Well, I stand corrected. I probably should announce my town hall meeting. It is on at 2 o'clock on the 28th of January, Saturday, 28th of January, and it will be at the Central Library. And Interim Chief, APD Chief Art Acevedo will be there talking about his philosophy going forward in terms of law enforcement in the city of Aurora. With that, meeting adjourned.